Hi and welcome. My name is Colin Crowley and I'm GDA with Cork County Board. And today I'm just going to be talking about the role of the coaching officer and with that the coaching committee. So a lot of clubs will already have an active coaching officer and coaching committee, but we'll just go through some of the roles from the feedback I've received from coaching officers and just some thoughts myself on the role and how to utilise it best. So what we'll go through is we'll go through what is the coaching officer, who is the coaching officer, what are the areas covered by the coaching officer, coaching and playing forum, one club, one plan, coach education, recruitment and upskilling of coaches, school supports and a community practice. So there are topics we could try to cover there today. So the coaching officer will coordinate the activities of the club coaches and managers to provide a safe, smooth and rewarding progression for all players from under 8 to senior through the pathway to elite performance. So that's just one of the definitions that I got from the Connacht GAA website. And I suppose who is the coaching officer then? From that you can see it's someone who's interested in the active ongoings on the pitch. So people that are interested in what happens out on the green grass. And you'd hope that they wouldn't be laid down with such other topics that happen in clubs such as fundraising, registrations and other things like that which the juvenile committee and adult committee have to deal with. So this is a more on-field, what happens on the green grass as regards coaching standards, playing standards, everything like that. So who that suits, only you can tell yourself. Is that something that you would enjoy doing and you would like to help the club from the playing side? Other people would obviously be able to volunteer other areas, but the coaching officer must be very interested in the games and what's happening on the pitch. So the areas covered. So what areas does the coaching officer cover? So the coaching officer is basically, you got to ensure best practice coaching standards throughout the club. Some clubs, the coaching officer would generally work from the juvenile side of things from under 18 down. Others would work the whole section, the whole array from under 8 to adult level. What works best for your club might be different, and you might have your own ideas in it. So to ensure the best practice coaching standards right from once they start at under 5, 6, whatever age group the nursery start, all the way up as far as the remit goes. Ideally would be the full way up to the adult section, but as I said, some clubs don't go that far. Recruitment of coaches would be an important part, that you ensure each age group have an adequate number of qualified coaches. And within this, to ensure that the coaches have the Garda vetting, other areas like that, just to ensure that they're familiar with that information. Again, if that role of Garda vetting can be passed on to somebody, great, it would make the life of the coaching officer a lot easier. To be a link with the school liaison officer to ensure adequate games initiatives from primary and post-primary. I'll go through this a little bit further. You'll be the chairman of the coaching committee, and you'll also coordinate a coach education program in liaison with the coaching committee. So the first thing I would suggest doing if you have or don't have an active coaching officer would be to hold a club coaching and playing forum. So what this forum will do would be that you would invite all stakeholders to it, be it adult section, juvenile section, parents, current coaches, other people that have an interest in the club and what happens within the club. And I suppose you would target the forum that would be fairly specific to the needs of playing and coaching. So a simple thing, when I would have done this in the past, would have asked that we would have been through a couple of steps. The first step would be to, let's say we had 20 people turn up to the workshop or to the forum. We would break them into 5 groups of 4. And each group, we'd ask them what are the aims of the club from coaching and playing perspective. So throw down as many answers as they can. It could be 10, 20, 30 answers, as many as they can. What should you be trying to strive for as a club from a coaching and playing perspective? So you get various things here. It can be very personal that the under 8 coach might say, we want all boys at under 8 to be able to hit the ball off left and right side. That might be one of the aims they put down. Others will be saying, a parent might put down that they want each child to get equal game time, that every child gets at least half of the match for every match, regardless of whether they're the best player or the worst player on the team. So you get varying different things like that. Next step would be to identify the 5 most important items. So when the first step is done, you'd put all those items up on a whiteboard or up on a A1 sheet write them all down, no matter how many of them there are. And what you asked in is that the groups go back and discuss, if you could only do 5 of them and focus on 5 of them, what would they do? So what this will do is this will kind of set the values of the group. What do you actually want from your club from a coaching and playing perspective? So you'd like to think that the coaches will say from a coaching perspective that there's quality coaching supports in place, that if I'm a coach, what's there to help me? Am I getting assistance from the coaching officer and the coaching committee in areas? Other things like how do we get more workshops? There can be various items like that, but it's up to each club will have their own individual 5 needs. What you do then is the next step would be to how do we improve each of these 5? So each of the 5 groups would get a topic each, and they'd be told to discuss it. What are we doing well in this area at the moment, and what are we doing not so well in this area at the moment, and how can we improve these? So each group then will be able to focus on that one topic only, and they'll be able to come up with ideas on how they can actually improve it. And as I said, they don't have to take everything on board, but it'll just give a bit of guidance as to what the thinking is with the group. The last step then would be to, after those 5 aims and taking on board the notes that have been taken on board from the whole workshop, would be that you'd establish a coaching committee. This committee would be, their only dealing would be on field as regards coaching and playing, that they wouldn't be burdened with tasks such as fundraising, organising events and stuff like that. Their sole task is on field. How can we help the coaches to ensure that the kids get the best value out of it, as well as the coaches? So with this, you want one club, one plan. Taking on board the aims identified at the forum, the coaching committee need to develop a coaching plan for all coaches in the club. So whatever the 5 topics are already outlined, they need to be a part of it. But also you need to include the following, which I think is very important. You need age-appropriate skills development. So what do we want our under-8s doing on a given year? What do we want our under-6s doing? What do we want our under-16s doing? So the needs of an under-16 player is very, very different from the needs of an under-6 player. We need to be able to decipher what's the difference, and we need to be able to put in place a plan that they can go from age to age appropriate to their own skill set. So skills for let's say an under-8 boy, we might like them that in hurling, they'll be able to jab lift the ball by the end of the year. It's not putting it too soon. They'll play ground hurling for most of the under-8 year. So we'd put it that the target for every single player within the group is that at the end of under-8 year, they're going to be able to jab lift the ball uncontested. So what you're doing then is you're giving them something that's appropriate to their skill, to their technical ability that they're comfortable with, and it'll allow the kids to progress at I suppose, a skill set that's suitable for them. So we're not setting them up for failure, we're setting them up for success throughout the course of the year. What that'll also do is it'll give the coaches a focal point on what skills they need to improve in a given year. So if you're just doing 3 skills a year, it would make it very easy that at the start of the year, or at the start of every single session and week, month, that the coaches know what skills they're actually going to try to improve and what skills to develop the training sessions around. Put in place yearly targets. So this could be simple things such as number of players, that each team retains 100% of their players. It's ambitious, but it should be a target that they should aspire to. No mentor should be happy that a child stops coming up to the pitch. They need to ensure that the children keep coming back. So that could be one target. Another one could be a skills challenge, skills targets. So as I said, the under-8s, that they can do 10 jab lifts in 30 seconds at the age of 8, or they can kick the ball left and right over the bar at under 12 from 20 metres out. So things like that, setting yearly targets that the kids can aspire to, but also the coaches can plan towards. Having a schools plan. What do we want our schools doing? So I'll go through this a small bit because we have a page on it further on. And the other areas they're covered in things. So if you can do those 3 topics there, plus the 5 areas that the club have outlined, it would give a really strong base of what you want to do as a club for a given year or given 5-year plan. So coach education, community and practice, I'll allude to that further on. Regular workshops. Your job as coaching officer is to ensure that there is regular workshops. It might be only 3 times a year, but it's got to be specific to an age group. So you're not just doing a workshop and we're inviting the coaches from 6 to 16 to a workshop on games-based coaching for youth. That is not appropriate to an under-6 coach. There needs to be something specific for the under-6 coach, as well as something specific for the under-16 coach. So we'd like to think that each club would host at least 2 workshops specific enough to the ages. So I'm saying an under-6 coach what's applicable to him is probably applicable to an under 8, under 5, 6, 7, 8 coach as well. So stuff like that where it can be key target on what the needs are. Access to resources and materials. So if a club do have access to Fundu packs and stuff like that, that these are shared amongst the group and they're not just hoarded away by one person, that we're able to pass around the information and the best practice stuff that's out there. Monitoring and reflecting. What this would be that you would go down, you would have somebody assigned that their role would be to monitor coaches and to, not from a monitoring, that was a shocking session, monitoring from reflecting with them. What did you do? Why did you do that exercise there? Is there anything you could have done differently? So asking simple questions like that, somebody asking a coach that, it makes the coach really think about what they were doing and reflect on what they were doing. So some simple things like that, someone who's proactive, somebody that's good people person, somebody that can ask those kind of challenging questions without it being confrontational is very, very important. Because if a coach can reflect on what they did in a training session, the next time they'll improve for it. So it's a simple thing, but it's a hard thing to get right. Individual coaching needs assessment. Again, a simple thing might be just this little survey out to every coach. Is there any areas you would like assistance on? Some of them might say communication, others would say something really specific like how do we get our backs working better as a unit? So you had to, as a coaching officer, along with your coaching committee, need to be able to devise the workshop specific for those things. So if you know that there's someone who's very good at coaching the tackle, and the under 12s are looking for somebody to help with the tackle, you can get them down for a one-on-one workshop with that group, where the coaches are getting their specific needs, so their age group are being met by what you're offering. So a simple survey, 3 or 4 questions, could take 5 minutes to fill out, but if a coach fills it out, they're looking for help and they want your assistance. You have to be able to provide it then as a coaching officer. Last 2, master coaches and floating coaches. These are 2 varying topics. As regards master coaches, what I would see this would be in a lot of clubs, you probably all look at your own club, we'd have a lot of coaches would come through with their son. They might start coaching a team at under 6 and they might go all the way through to minor or under 20, 21. And then once the child progresses further than that, that coach is lost. And he or she might have 13, 14 years of experience of coaching with their own son's team, but they have developed from nursery level to adult level, and now all of a sudden they have nothing to do with the club. You need to get these people and this experience back in. So the time that they put into the club is phenomenal, but also you need to get them to be able to give something back on the far end of it as well. That they have so much knowledge built up over the 14, 15 years of them involved in the club. You need to be able to get that back out of them, to be able to give back to the rest of the new coaches in the club who maybe are in the same position as them, except 14 or 15 years behind. It can also be other coaches that might have been working with the seniors or the adult section of the club for the last 10 or 15, 20 years, being able to get them to come back just to give different insights, different opinions and stuff from the experience that they have. So to be able to work, if you can get an under 21 coach or a fellow who's been involved with the under 21s for the last 5 years, come back with the under 12s, it will give a unique difference. I suppose a different voice for the players, but also for the coaches, that they're able to see a different side of things. And the last one then would be the floating coaches. So what this would be that I know every club that we would go to would ask for the one thing that they want is to get the current adult players back involved. But you have to realise those current adult players have a massive time constraints on them already within the GA club. They're probably training 2 nights a week. Collectively, they're probably playing a match or a training every weekend. They're probably doing 2 gym sessions a week or 2 sessions outside of it for their own personal well-being, it being fitness, ball, whatever. So their time that they're giving to the club already is huge. So what you need to do is make it as easy as possible for them. So if you know the seniors train on a Tuesday night at 6:30 or at 7:30, if you can get one of those floating coaches or identify 4 or 5 of them who are good with kids, know what you're looking for, and if you can get them to go down and maybe just give half an hour to the under 10s from 7:15 to 7:15 next Tuesday night, that's brilliant. The coaches will really appreciate it, the kids will appreciate it, but it'll also give that link between the juvenile and the adult section of the club. What you can do then is 3 weeks later, that same coach, would you mind coming down and doing a session with the under 14s? They're training at 7 o'clock. You might do the first 20 minutes with them. So again, it might just give a different perspective, but having a couple of coaches like that will just take away a bit of burden from the current coaches that are doing it every week, and it might just give them a few new ideas. So it is important, as I said, current players, great if you can get them, but if not, there's other people in the club that mightn't be able to give a commitment to be there every week for the whole year or twice a week, but they might be able to get on once a month for an hour for 8 months of the year. So asking someone for 8 hours of their time to volunteer for the club isn't a huge amount, but it's being able to work it into their schedule to suit them as best as possible. So recruitment and upskilling of coaches. So this is a very, very important topic as regards player-coach ratios and stuff like that. To identify current non-coaches who may be able to get involved, be able to assist. So people, as I said earlier on, like the master coaches who've been through with their son and now they don't have time. There might be people who are retired from playing or retired from work who might have time in their hands and willing to help out. But it's making it attractive to those people. It's not coming down and saying, will you manage the under-12 team? It's coming down and will you be a coach for the under-12s every now and again? So they might be able to give 1 hour every second week, or they might be able to give more. But being able to get them people and identify them people is very important. So you'll have to ask around and talk to other people in the club and talk to maybe older people in the club on who'd coached before, if you're new to the club yourself. To get that kind of information is very important. Put in place a recruitment plan at nursery level. So nursery level is 4s to 7s, as I would consider them. And with that, it's probably the best time to recruit them. If you've got a child coming in at the age of 5 or 4 or 5, and their parents coming in and they might have no experience in the GAA themselves, that is the time to catch them. And to catch, well, when I say catch, get them involved. And it could be something very, very simple. Would you mind standing there? Would you mind playing in goals for this game? Or would you mind just keeping score there? So simple things like that, you can just ask parents standing on the sideline to do simple little tasks. That'll just make them more willing to help out. I know if you get all the coaches, all the parents around and say, right, I'm looking for 5 coaches who will help, you might get 2 or 3 will volunteer themselves. But a lot of others are probably afraid that, I don't know anything about GAA, I haven't played in 20 years, or I've never played. I don't know, can I actually help them? I'll only embarrass myself. And the fear might be that a couple of kids might die when they're doing some hooking exercises, something like that. You have to allay those fears a small bit. Make it easier for them that if they want to get involved, they can feel comfortable getting involved. So you need to be able to give them a workload that's suitable to their skill set starting off. But like the kids will get better from 5, 6, 7, 8. The kids will improve between the age of 5 and the age of 35. They've got 30 years of development. And it's the same with a coach. No coach is going to come in and be able to be the top coach straight away. They need to develop year on year, learn on the job, essentially. So getting them at nursery level is the best time to get them. That's when they're very open to learning from, I suppose, expert coaches, going to coaching courses, upskilling themselves formally, informally, and non-formally. Be able to do that is to get them when they're just starting out the journey with their own kids. And as I said, that is an ideal time to get them. So have a plan in place for the nursery of how to get parents involved. And it mightn't just be from a coaching perspective. As I said with the last point here, it mightn't just be from a coaching perspective. It could be other skills that they can offer. So you'll have some people who mightn't be able to coach, mightn't have any confidence or interest in coaching. But what they will do is they might become the team manager. They might be the person that will liaise with the opposition mentors in 3 years' time to arrange matches. They might be the person that liaises with the coaching officer and with the club to organise time slots on the training pitch, AstroTurf, ball alley, indoor hall, whatever it may be. So there's people with skills that you can use, not just from a coaching perspective, but what they will do is they will release the coach to do more coaching and less admin time in the background, let's say. So being able to utilise and those people is very, very important. And with the way demographics are gone now, with a lot of clubs have people from non-traditional, from the area living there, it's very important that these people feel welcome and feel that they can offer something to the club. Have a progression plan for year on year. So a lot of coaches, again, a lot of personnel that involved, they might come from a business background, or they might come from a professional background, where they expect that there's a plan in place. They just don't want to go into something that's not properly organised. They want to see that there's a plan that, yeah, this year we're going to get 8 coaches involved for the 24 kids at nursery. And we want to get 8 coaches, is the plan. We're going to train you all up. We're going to get be it the GDA or the full-time staff, to come down and work with you one session this year, 2-hour session. Next year, we'll try to get you onto foundation course. Following year, we'll do an award one. That there's a progression for the coaches as well as the kids. So that there's a plan in place for them, because, as I said, a lot of people from professional background, they want to see structure. And structure will help them, because they know the fear with the GAA is that if someone gets involved, they're going to be stuck for every other job that's ever going to go down in the club. And we need to be able to take away those fears and be able to make it easy and accessible for them. And the school support structure. So this is probably one of the most important parts of it. It's a part that us down in the GDAs in Cork, part of our benchmarking we put as the most important section of coaching officer's role, is to ensure that there's a strong club-school link. To do this, the club need to ensure that they have a school liaison for each school in the locality, primary and post-primary. What I mean by this is that if you've got 3 schools in the parish, you need to have a person that is in touch with the school to put in place plans as regards coaching, club schooling coaching, using of facilities shared both ways, whether the club are using school halls, whether the school are using club pitches and club halls and stuff like that. That there's a person, ideally, if you can have one person for each school, as regards they know the internal politics, that if a person has 2 kids in the school, they know how amenable the principal is to suggestions. They know the teachers that are involved with Skeena Skull teams and stuff like that. And being able to have a strong relationship with them, working together hand in hand, is very important. And the same with post-primary schools. I'll go down through that in the last section about the post-primary school links. To be able to liaise with the primary school to provide regular coaching assistance for all classes, especially junior, infants to second class groups. Now, I know a lot of clubs in the Dublin, Greater Dublin area, the East Leinster project, have full-time GPOs who are doing all this work, and they're probably doing the role of coaching officer in a way as well. But for clubs outside of that who don't have a full-time personnel within the club, and I know down in Cork where there's 5 GDAs for 200 clubs, just 5 GDAs that have to work in about 400 schools, it's not possible to provide for the individual GDAs to do the work that we would love to see done. So in an ideal world, we would say minimum 6 weeks hurling coaching, 6 weeks football coaching for the junior infants to second class. And there would be that would entail fundamental movements and a lot of, let's say, non-sport specific content as well. So we've got resources available to teachers, and we've passed it out to clubs that they can use, as well as online. There's loads and loads of resources as regards non-sport specific content, but also in putting the hurley into the hand and putting the football into the hand as well is important in part of it. But it wouldn't be the most important part with the younger side of things. If the club can provide assistance for 3rd class to 6th class and help out with Skeena Skull teams and stuff like that, that's brilliant. But we would say the focus is down the lower end as regards giving them a really good starting point with the GA. You have a 100% captive audience. Every child in the parish is going to one of the parish schools nearly. Be able to get them in the school sector, in the school setting, being able to put in a positive GA experience for them is very, very important for the start. And if you think about it, if you can get, we said 6 hurling, 6 football, but some clubs are able to get into the school year round. So you're talking 30 sessions in a year, which might double the amount of training that the child might do if he or she was training in the club only. So being able to put in place proper structures that will provide that kind of quality coaching is important. To be able to assist to identify the club school link coach who is trained at an adequate level and provide coaching supports where necessary. So a lot of clubs, again, as I said, in the Dublin, Greater Dublin area would have a full-time GPO who's doing the on-the-ground work. They're in the schools 4 or 5 days a week. They're hitting 800-900 kids a week in some areas. But for clubs outside of that, to be able to identify somebody that can go in and provide that quality coaching is very, very important. Some clubs are very proactive in it, and that they might pay someone internally or externally, that it'll be their job to go in there once a week for X amount of the weeks in the year. You have a lot of clubs would have their 3rd level students doing rec and leisure or sports science or doing teaching, who might use it as valuable experience themselves. So being able to train up that coach is very, very important from the coaching officer point of view. And again, utilise your full-time staff in that. So if a club in Cork asked me, Colin, we have a new coach that we're going to get started in the school, can you give him a hand? And if we can fit it into the schedule and we get enough notice, I should be able to get down to him at least twice, and that might cover 8 to 12 sessions within those 2 days to ensure that I'm upskilling him to the level that's required in the school. Because for a lot of kids, it's the first, and for some of them, it might be the only time they have an input, or they might come onto the GAA spectrum. So it needs to be really good quality content, age appropriate, inclusive, and all that. So it's very, very important that it's done. If it's done right. So enable the post-primary liaison to have regular school contact to ensure smooth progression for kids going from primary to post-primary, and the provision of supports internally and externally as well. So what I mean by this is that the biggest areas of fallout in the GAA are when children go from primary school to secondary school for the kind of 13, 14 age group, and also when they go from secondary school to college or stroke adulthood, out living their life, earning money. They're the two biggest fallouts. So one thing that what we're trying to do and trying to ensure is that if a traditional school that might have, let's say they might have trials at the start of the year, for first 3 or 4 weeks, and that's it. They picked a panel of 24, 25, the rest of the players are kicked to the side. We're trying to put in place now structures where you can help out, the club can provide assistance, coaching assistance, that they will ensure that the rest of the kids, they're not kicked to the side for the year. They're actually playing, be it in super game centres, internal leagues, internal blitzes, that the club are proactive with the school in providing this kind of assistance. So it might be manpower, but it might just be resources available to them as regards pitches, equipment and stuff like that. So again, working with the school is very, very important in keeping them trained up. What you'll also, it's doubly beneficial, as I said, if a school are proactive and they're giving every child a chance to play, those children are getting invaluable game time and coaching time that the club mightn't be able to provide at certain times in the year. So normally when the clubs are shutting down around October, schools are kicking into full go. And as I said, if the kids are getting a bit of extra coaching, it's beneficial mutually to the club and to the school that you're all both working together. So have a positive relationship there. And also as regards, some clubs might decide, oh, we've a match Saturday, you're not playing with the school on a Thursday. They might say that on a Wednesday night. And all of a sudden the school team are going out the next day missing half their players because one mentor said that they're not allowed to play with the school. It's not that common, thankfully, but it does happen from time to time, especially with championship at the start of the year in September and October when teams are in knockout stage of the championship. So being able to have that positive relationship, being able to outline that, if you know that you're the school post-primary liaison officer and you're talking to that teacher and you know 4 weeks, 2 weeks in advance, we have a match that Saturday, is there any chance you could move your game earlier in the week? Being able to sort of be proactive rather than reactive with things like that is very, very important. So again, as the coaching officer, being able to identify that person that will be able to work with the school and talk to those teachers is very important. And last slide is community practice. Community practice is a group of people who come together to build and share knowledge, to build and share skills, to build networks and to build recognition. So community practice for me within the GAA setting is that all the under 12 coaches are in a room together, or not all the underage coaches are in a room together, where they're all learning off each other. So at the end of the year, the under 8 coach will tell the under 9 coach, or the under 9 coach will tell the under 8 coach what he learned this year, what would they do different and stuff like that. So having a community practice, and also from a coaching perspective on the field, that if an under 10 team are struggling with getting the block down or getting in football, the under 14 coach might be able to, in this session, 3 times a year, they might be able to give them the skills that they need to be able to coach that properly. So a community practice where you're getting all the coaches into a room, having a facilitator, being the coaching officer or somebody else who is just going to facilitate discussion on topics, is very important, and it can be really, really worthwhile for the club. So as a club, as a coaching officer and coaching committee, being able to identify these things and being able to push them through is very important. I'm not saying meet every week because it's not feasible, and coaches generally don't have enough time in the week for that kind of stuff, but where they can meet regularly, have a WhatsApp group, or have some sort of a sharing portal where they can share their information within. So there's some really good Twitter pages, Facebook, there's some good WhatsApp groups. It's important that you're sharing all that information within. So that's it. As I said, I can't, there's a few other things. I'm sure there'll be a load of people will comment on areas that they think are important and stuff like that. So we'll try to share that on the Twitter page and on Facebook as much as possible. But I hope you got something out of it. As I said, if you are a coaching officer, brilliant. Keep doing the work you're doing and keep challenging yourself to be better. If you're not and you're thinking about it, it's not that much work, but it's as much work as you're willing to put into it. And if your club don't have a coaching officer or a coaching committee, it's important that you start making steps to doing it. Somebody that's just going to oversee the whole coaching within the club, be it a big club or a small club, it's very important that you have that within the club, just to streamline things, that there's a plan in place from this year to next where you can follow and everybody can go on everybody's going the same direction. So there's no ambiguity in the following year that you want your under 10 teams to play at least 9 matches. If the manager next year says we're only playing 3, you can say there's a plan. So simple things like that might solve problems in the long run. So there are my contact details. If anyone wants to contact me, feel free. As I said, with the downtime at the moment, I have a bit more time in my hands. So as I said, more than willing to take any feedback where possible. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody, and hopefully we'll be all back coaching sooner.